Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to really get into this biography of Prince Harry by Duncan Larcom.
Mm.
It's called Prince Harry, The Inside Story. But you got
Yeah.
to ask, is it really the inside story or just
Oh, but
another
yeah, another version.
version, right?
Okay. Epic.
So we're diving deep today to figure that out. I mean, Larcom, he's a royal correspondent, so he's been up close and personal with Harry. But
Yes, but he's
often,
also part of that whole media machine that Harry seems to, well, really distrust. So it's a tough one. Can we trust Larkham to give us the real Harry, the unfiltered version?
yeah, that's the big question. And to get there, we need to go back to the beginning, right?
Mm.
Larcom spends quite a bit of time on Harry's childhood.
He does.
And, growing up in that royal fishbowl, always being compared to William.
It's the classic younger sibling thing,
Oh,
right?
totally.
But on a whole other level. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Except with crowns and, like, worldwide attention. I mean, think about it. Every little slip-up, every time he acted out, boom, front page news.
Exactly. And that leads us to, well, that Nazi costume incident. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't really avoid that one. But the way Larkham presents it, it's almost like a teenage prank gone wrong, you know?
Yeah.
A bit of a rebellious streak, not some deep-seated issue. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I think that's where we start to see how Larcom is framing this whole story. He's really pushing this idea of Harry as this good kid, a bit mischievous maybe, who makes mistakes but ultimately learns from them.
So, like, the boys will be boys defense.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, he doesn't downplay the outrage that followed. He even quotes Harry saying he was very sorry and realizes he was insensitive,
Mm-hmm.
but it all feels a bit, I don't know, calculated.
Like, he's trying to get ahead of the criticism, show that Harry understands the gravity of what happened. But does it really convince you that Harry truly learned his lesson? I'm not sure, especially because right after that, Larkham goes into detail about Harry's gap year, which was, well, let's just say full of partying and maybe some questionable choices.
The gap year. Every rich kid's rite of passage, right? Except for Harry, it's all splashed across the tabloids for the world to see.
Exactly. And Larkham seems to relish in describing these escapades, painting Harry as this carefree adventurer, fun-loving, maybe a little reckless.
It's like he's trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, we have the reformed character who's learned from his past, but on the other, he's still the charming rogue who can't resist pushing the boundaries.
And that duality, I think, is key to understanding Larkham's whole approach. He wants to make Harry relatable, to humanize him, but he also wants to exploit that party prince image that sells so well.
So is he just feeding the very beast he claims to be dissecting?
Possibly. But to be fair, he does highlight the good stuff, too. The time Harry spent in Lesotho.
Right, that's where Larkham starts to push the finding his purpose narrative.
Yeah. He talks about Harry's work with Sentebale, the charity he co-founded to help kids in Lesotho. And he describes Harry being really moved by the experience, connecting with the people, genuinely wanting to make a difference.
It's definitely a shift in tone. Suddenly, Harry's not the spoiled prince anymore. He's compassionate, driven to use his privilege for something good.
And that's a theme Larkham keeps coming back to. He's always reminding us that there's more to Harry than just the partying and the scandals, that there's depth there, sensitivity.
But is it genuine? Or is it just another layer of, carefully crafted PR?
It's hard to say for sure. With biographies, we're always at the mercy of the author's interpretation, the stories they choose to tell, the way they frame the narrative.
So it's like we're seeing Harry through a very specific lens, a lens that might be distorting the picture just a bit.
Exactly, and that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, don't you think? We're not just exploring Harry's life, we're also analyzing how it's being presented to us.
And that's where things get really juicy. Because next, we're diving into Harry's love life. And that's where Larkham really goes for it with the whole romantic hero angle.
Oh, yeah. The Chelsea Davy years. Get ready for some serious drama. Okay, so Chelsea Davy. Larkham really frames this relationship as Harry's first real taste of freedom, like real happiness.
Right. It's like after Lesotho, where he started to realize he wanted something more than the royal life. He meets Chelsea, and she's totally different.
Totally. Not intimidated by the whole royal thing at all.
Not one bit. And Larkham really plays that up.
Yeah.
She's like this breath of fresh air for Harry, someone who challenges him, pushes him outside of his comfort zone.
And it's a great story, right? All these adventures, holidays in Mozambique, romantic escapes to Botswana. Larkham even throws in a story about how Chelsea used to sneak into Kensington Palace wearing a wig.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It's all very exciting, glamorous, like young love conquers all.
Exactly. But you know what's missing? We don't really get to know Chelsea. I mean, we see her as the party girl, the adventurous one, the one who can keep up with Harry. But it's all surface
Yeah,
level.
I see what you mean.
It's something I've noticed about Larkham's writing in general. He focuses on the image, the exciting anecdote, but he doesn't go deeper.
So true. Like, what about how these relationships actually changed Harry? How they
Yeah.
shaped his views on love, commitment, all that?
Totally. Instead, we get this very simplistic idea of Chelsea as the one that got away, the one who just couldn't handle the pressure of being with a prince.
Which, let's be real, is a pretty convenient explanation for why it ended. Makes it Chelsea's problem, not Harry's.
Right. And it reinforces this whole idea that no one can really understand royal life unless they're in it, which, conveniently, is where Larkham positions himself as the expert.
I'm the only one who can tell this story because I've been there.
Exactly. But let's move on from Chelsea because Larkham quickly shifts gears to Harry's military career. And here's where he really goes all in on the hero narrative.
Oh, absolutely. The warrior prince image. Sandhurst, the training, his insistence on being on the front lines. Larkham really plays it up.
He does, and it works, doesn't it? Because it taps into that whole history of royals serving in the military. Gives Harry a sense of legitimacy.
Makes him more than just the party prince.
Exactly. But what I found interesting was how Larkham also talks about Harry's disappointment when he was pulled out of Iraq for security reasons.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It shows how much Harry wanted to serve, to prove himself, even without any special treatment.
And that kind of sets the stage for his deployment to Afghanistan, which Larkham presents as the ultimate test of Harry's courage.
It's all very intense. Larkham quotes Harry talking about taking a life to save a life, trying to show how brave Harry was, the sacrifices he made.
Yeah, but it also feels a little exploitative, don't you think? Like Larkham is using Harry's war experience to sell more books, to make Harry look like this larger-than-life hero.
It's a tough one. I mean, it's important to recognize what soldiers go through, but there's a danger in glorifying war too, right?
Yeah, sure. And I don't think Larkham really deals with the psychological effects of war, what that experience might have done to Harry.
It's like he's presenting a very specific version of Harry's time in Afghanistan, one that fits his hero narrative, but it probably wasn't that simple.
No, it definitely wasn't. So we end up with this kind of sanitized, almost romanticized view of Harry's military service. And then, boom, Larkham throws us right back into the world of royal duties and the search for a wife.
Right, and that's where Cressida Bonus enters the picture, another short, intense relationship. And Larkham presents it as yet another example of how Harry just can't find love within the royal bubble.
But wait, doesn't that contradict what he said about Chelsea? He spent a whole chapter saying she couldn't handle the pressure, and now he's saying no woman can.
It is a bit strange, isn't it? Almost like he's setting us up for Meghan. Like she's the only one strong enough to handle it all.
Which is a much better story, right?
Huh.
American actress takes on the British monarchy. Pure tabloid goals.
Exactly. And Larkham definitely knows how to play that game. He ends this section by hinting at the whirlwind romance that's about to happen.
Leaving us all on the edge of our seats. Like, get ready for Meghan.
All right, Meghan Markle time. This is where Larkham really lays it on thick with the whole fairy tale romance thing.
Totally. It's like Meghan is this modern-day Cinderella who rescues Harry from his royal tower.
Exactly. And he makes sure to point out all the ways Meghan is different from, well, basically every other royal girlfriend. American, divorced, biracial, actress.
It's like he's trying to highlight how unconventional she is. Like she's here to shake things up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what people love to read about.
Oh, for sure. But what I found really interesting was how Larkham describes Harry's reaction to all the media attention on their relationship.
Yeah.
He really seems to find his voice.
Yeah.
Like he's pushing back, defending Meghan.
It's definitely different from his earlier relationships. With Chelsea and Cressida, it seemed like he just accepted the media scrutiny, even when it was hurting them.
Yeah, but with Meghan, it's like he draws a line. He's protective, speaking out, calling out the press for being unfair.
And Larkham uses that to, build up Harry even more. He's not just the party prince or the warrior prince now. He's the knight in shining armor, right? Protecting his lady love.
Totally. But it's a bit too simple, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's not like Harry hasn't used the media to his advantage in the past, right?
Right. And let's be honest, Meghan can handle herself. She's strong, she's used to the spotlight, she doesn't need rescuing.
Exactly. But Larkham seems to want to paint her as the damsel in distress.
Yeah. Which I think in the end makes his portrayal of their relationship feel less, I don't know, authentic.
Yeah, I agree. It feels less like a real exploration of their love and more like, a fairy tale.
Exactly. A fairy tale meant to sell books.
And that's kind of where he leaves us,
Yeah.
with the wedding, the babies, happily ever after.
Yeah. But we all know that's not the whole story.
Nope, not even close. And that's what's disappointing about Larkham's book. It's like a snapshot in time,
Yeah.
ending right before things got really interesting.
Like he's giving us the Disney version.
Exactly. So, after spending all this time with Prince Harry, the inside story, did we actually get the inside story?
I think we got a glimpse, but a very controlled glimpse. It's not the full picture.
No, definitely not. I think we're still left wondering who the real Harry is.
Yeah. He's still a bit of a mystery.
And that's kind of fascinating, right?
It is.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, there's always more to the story, and we'll be here to unpack it all.